Hello, welcome to another episode of What Do We Do Now? A conversation about the live event industry. Today I'm joined by Nicky. Say hello, Nicky.
Hi there.
How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Thank you very much for
Surviving.
joining me. I really appreciate it. Surviving, good. Let's jump straight into it. How did you get your start in the live event industry?
The start was by accident, really. The guy called Jamie Neal needed a freelancer to look after a photo shoot for Austin Rover, I think it was. And that's where it started. I think, to be honest, I think the interesting question really is why did I stay? And I think what I experienced was something quite extraordinary. So people were very talented, very collaborative. The kind of need for hierarchy evaporated, and it kind of really suited my personality. The culture suited my personality because I'm quite a maverick.
So in the moment, you mean? So in the moment of delivering that photo shoot, you kind of experienced this kind of collaborative there. Is that what you mean?
It wasn't so much the photo shoot itself. It was what happened after that, so proper live events, the moment when you can't mess around, it absolutely has to be right. To see people come together with their individual experience and talents, and to be able to coordinate that without a hierarchical structure, and for it to be so focused and successful. I just love the fact that there was only one moment in time to get it right, and that drove everybody. People call it passion, and I think that's true. Passion can also be described as pain, and I think in some cases it's just the sheer, desire, but also the fear not to get it wrong. It is phenomenal. I had never experienced anything like it, and I worked at the BBC briefly, but this for me was the place to be, I reckoned. And even later
so how long
on,
did you... Sorry, go on.
No.
I was just going to say, so how long did you kind of stay freelance for? Like, was that something that you kind of, once you got bitten by the bug, you really, really wanted to do more?
Yeah, exactly. I think probably about 4 or 5 years. I freelanced. Oh no, I started work. I started at Carabiner. They asked me to stay as a full timer, and I joined a group of people, youngsters who were all in the same boat. But I found myself being pregnant about 9 months later, which was funny, and nobody knew what to do, and I didn't know either. So I just carried on working till the day Kate was due.
Yeah.
So,
oh wow!
And then after that, I started freelancing for about 2 or 3 years at MMA and ICM, and then I joined Crown in the kind of early 90s. So,
great. And so what did you do when you went to Crown then?
Well, that was interesting as well. I didn't really know. I was going there as a producer. And I wanted to go there because I met Annie Powell and I thought she was brilliant. But unfortunately, I started and I was there for a week, and Annie was on holiday and never came back.
Oh,
which was a bit of a shock.
What happened to her? Was she okay? I hope she was okay.
She was fine, but I think you'd have to ask Annie. But that was
a bit of a surprise then.
And in Crown, I think I wanted to be a big fish in a small pond, and they only had a very small live department. But I was able to grow it from there with with my colleagues, Mark Wright and people like that. So, and in the early '93, I think it was, we did a management buyout, and that from then on, we just rolled on, and it was cool. But like I say,
wow. So that's a business that you ended up leading then? Just you and some others, or was it you on your own? Like when you say you did the management
initially there were other people involved in it, obviously, but later on I kind of ended up by myself. So people said, "Oh, you must have always wanted to be an MD," and that's not actually true. I think it if you don't take orders, eventually you'll end up on top of the food pile. That's the kind of, And I think what the initial that attracted me to the industry, the culture of the people, I think it suited me, like I said before, because I was quite a maverick, and I tried to sort of introduce that into my management style, such as it was. So I would say to people would say to me, "Can I leave early?" And I go, "Don't know, can you?" Because I wanted people to own it. I don't know whether you can leave early. Don't give me the responsibility to make that decision. And there were other things, like quirky things like email. I absolutely abhor email, because initially you would get sort of equivalent of 4 pages of A4 of arse covering. And I'd go, hang on a minute, this is not right. So I would answer by just a question mark. And people would come into my office and go, well, and explain to me in 2 minutes flat what they meant. And I would go, it's solved. I said, but never, ever waste your time doing that again. And to be fair,
or sometimes I suppose they're writing emails for themselves, aren't they? They're just actually getting their thoughts out, but they don't need to send it necessarily.
No, but you do get the kind of, here's my list. So I'll go, write it all down, send it off, no longer my responsibility. And that used to absolutely drive me insane.
Same.
That's it's off my list. Here's yours. No. But you work through that, and people, but I think all the people who've worked freelance naturally understand that. I think, they are, as I said before, they are an integral part of agency life. I couldn't have run any of the agency and been as successful as we were without, the help of freelancers. And I wholly appreciate their ownership of the task that they're given, and the bravery, really, because where does your next job come from? And literally, you're as good as your last job. I remember people, accusing one of our crew of something, and I said, no, they'd never do that, because if they did, they'd never come back. And you could stand up for people, without qualm, because you knew that, the mentality it requires to be in a live events job is second
and so
to
did
none.
you always did you always feel that way about freelancers, having kind of come from there yourself, I suppose, just being able to rely on them as that kind of bedrock of experience that you could, I guess, employ as part of all the projects you're delivering? Or did it, did you try to balance kind of full-timers versus freelance? Like, how was it for you making that adjustment from being a freelancer yourself for 4 or 5 years to ending up running an agency?
Well, I didn't run an agency immediately after I joined Crown, so there was a bit of a gap. I was doing
development
marketing
time,
or sales or whatever. I mean, but I will say this, and as an agency, we've always totally respected the need for freelancers, and I hope that we've always treated them respectfully and understood their needs in terms of, quick payments, etc., etc. So there was always an empathy. Maybe there might be the odd one who'd be shouting at me, but as a whole, it was certainly in our values to respect people we worked with. Absolutely, categorically, definitely.
I think this situation with COVID has, had such a shocking impact on so many people, and I suppose the freelancers have been feeling it since February now. How is it? What kind of difference has it made to your life? Because you're not involved in the agency anymore. Is that right?
No. Everybody keeps phoning me up, telling my timing was perfect, but I feel just as bad about I personally don't.
A little bit of survivor's guilt there, or something.
Yeah, absolutely. But I am in touch with the people who took over, and they're okay. They're okay, and they're very smart and very creative. So I think they will be okay. But I think freelancers haven't quite got the scope. They get a phone call and there's a job. They haven't necessarily got the kind of planning or the regular contact with clients, which gives an agency hope. If you're in communication with your clients and you understand what they're going through and you understand what potentially you can do about it, it's a completely different ballgame. If you're just waiting for a phone call, that's terrifying, absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, and I guess it's probably difficult with everything that the agencies are going through as well, for them to sort of necessarily, remember that there are so many freelancers in a bad way. It's really, really tough time. What's gone? Sorry.
No, I think the way to look at it, the way I look at it, or try to anyway, is to sort of say, look, the form of communication that people, the live sector is in, is second to none. There's nothing like it, and nobody can better it, and it will come back. The issue is bridging the gap for when it does come back.
What do we do now? Exactly.
Yeah. But companies will, the clients, as we see them, their biggest challenge is going to be, selling stuff, naturally. That's kind of number one. But also, in the whole kind of sphere of what they need to do, communications is going to be absolutely key, because, how do you align your people with your strategy, with, your purpose, your values? How do you, hold your brand together with an extremely disparate workforce? That's going to be,
How do you do culture?
And people say, virtual meetings. Virtual meetings are an interim solution and a platform that needs to be used in combination with other forms. And the face-to-face, I can imagine that a company, if you said to a company, you have a canteen, the canteen will be built on a certain usage over a certain period of time. So, you will be socially distancing, and you can do stuff in there. And I know that there are going to be companies agencies who are thinking about that. How do you utilize it? So from a budgetary point of view, how do you keep it down? Maybe, and also, give people a platform to perform on. That we all know that our raison d'etre is there to make clients look good. Whether that's to have brilliant sound or brilliant vision or, brilliant content and a great delivery, and people will need that. They'll need that in their leadership pack. So, I'm hopeful that
everyone's sick of Zoom already, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're uniquely positioned as a live industry to tackle those issues, be it for television or be it for, for digital platforms or for live. Because we understand, we have empathy with the speaker. We understand the difficulties they face and the nervousness, we more so than anybody else. So, we are in a perfect position, and we should grab that land and make sure nobody else steps on our toes, and that's for agencies to battle quite hard and make sure that clients understand how important these agencies can be, in their culture, in their, kind of brand expansion.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there things that you think, of course, now this has been going on for so long, everything's going to be different. I don't think this goes without saying that things will be different as people build back in their various ways. But are there things that you think could be better? Things that people can learn from this type of challenge that can make people stronger?
Well, they say that necessity is the mother of invention, isn't it? But and I think, don't quote me exactly on it, but I believe that patents have gone through the roof. So, we're not isolated in that. People are thinking. And I think the one thing that COVID has done, it's kind of stopped us in our tracks, but it's also given us a little bit of time to think, about life in general, about the ecology, about do we really need to go and travel 3 hours and commute to an office? All these things are being questioned. I think that's healthy. I think that's good. That's that's a good thing to happen. But yeah, I think, could we do anything better? to be honest, I wouldn't like to be the judge of that. Like what, for instance? People are, in a difficult scenario. I think Make Events is, kind of a good platform for people to feel that, you're not alone. I think that's a quite an important thing to, if you're sitting at home thinking, where's the next job coming from? But
definitely.
if you can meet and if you can be, part of a bigger organization, and I think there needs to be a collective voice that says, we need loans for businesses, we need the furlough to be extended, we need the freelance scheme to be tailored to, specifics. Because it is
support
quite
during this time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if we can bridge that gap, and there was a lady who was in the film, can't remember her name, she was a sound engineer, but very eloquent, spoke incredibly eloquent about it. And she basically said, we will find solutions, we just need to be given the opportunity. And I wholeheartedly agree with her. We need a bridge. We need a bridge. That's all we need. We won't hold up our hands once we're up and running. We never have done. These people have organized, freelancers have organized their own lives. There's never been, a strain on the system. On the contrary, I was shocked to hear that we're a £100 billion business. I don't know how that how it's put together, but it's a lot of money and it's important.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, right, as a foreigner, because I am Dutch, right, and my mother was English, so I feel that I'm kind of in two camps. But I will say this: I came to this country because of its extraordinary talent in terms of entertainment, in terms of communication. It's second to none. People don't understand this, but there's nowhere in the world that does it better than this country. And if this government doesn't support it, it is absolutely shooting itself in the foot. If you're talking about brand Britain, a bit damaged at the moment, but if you're talking about, what does the country sound? The BBC, right, and the productions, the Americans are starting to Netflix, et cetera, starting to, rise in that department.
Yeah.
But we still have this unique talent for extraordinary communications. Your language alone has more words than, I don't know, however many, but I think the Dutch have only got a quarter of the words that the English have got. You have 5 words for the nuances that you can express. It's fascinating, and we should hold on to that. I would personally say, don't let it go. It's phenomenal.
No.
I feel
wow, your pain is right there. I can see it. I can feel it. I can feel your pain. I can hear your passion, and that's exactly what you were saying earlier.
True.
I mean, how about you? What's next for you?
I think I've been talking to a couple of people in the industry, Gene Edwards and Nicola Goddard and so on. We're all in a similar phase, and we feel very strongly that, we have a lot of knowledge we can impart, and we're kind of hoping that it can be helpful in some form or shape. We talked about, we're thinking through some form of academy, some sort of skill set that transfers of skills or helping people think through what they could do. At the end of the day, just a sounding board might be helpful to people. I don't know, and I would happily give my time to that. Be very equally. I think, having not been a freelancer for an awful long time, and maybe more helpful to agencies who are trying to battle their way through, and ways in which you can harness yourself, and even when you're back on your feet, how to harness yourself against something like this happening again. We Crown survived 9/11 and 2008 quite well. I would have preferred it to be better, but we did that because of the spread of business that we consciously constructed, our portfolio not to be dependent on, either one industry or one client. So
the diversification of the business and the importance of that. Yeah,
exactly. So my personal experience lies more in the kind of the running of the agencies, but I also know how an agency perceives freelancers and what lies behind. So if a freelancer's got issues with agencies, they have to have empathy on both sides. And I think, there's a bit of a suspicion that agencies will try and cut rates. And if they do, that's wrong, unless, they're pushed by a client. And I don't know that. I don't know which way, but people are very, very
sensitive
proud
around
of what
that,
they
for sure,
do.
I think.
Well, of course they are, and I totally understand it. I saw an advert for a rigger, £8.50 an hour. You have got to be joking, because that is a very dangerous job. It's a very skillful job. You have to climb at heights. Come on, you're taking the piss, basically.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
That's potentially what's going to happen. People are going to maybe use the scenario to, I don't know. But what
Take
if people
where they can,
no longer make you look good, make you sound good? What if that happens? Then, anyway.
Yeah, for sure. As you look back across your career, is there a piece of work advice that you were given, or something that you've lived by, or do you have a particular message for the live events industry as we kind of draw to a close?
Well, I think people, if I look back on my career, I think one of the things that I held dear to my heart is that I wouldn't allow somebody else to make my mistakes for me. I'd make my own and hold my hand up, but I wouldn't try to push it on to somebody else. So that's
a responsibility and accountability for your actions.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As far as advice, I mean, I wouldn't be so arrogant as to know the right piece of advice, but I think, one of the things that I live by is quite a sort of a Sufi saying, this too will pass. What you need to do is try and, survive the bit that is so very painful at the moment. But yeah, keep talking to people.
For so many people.
Yeah, absolutely. And, stay flexible. Don't be rigid in your thoughts, and use your creativity to think around things, to talk to people, to, there will be a way through one way or another. And I think the government needs to play a great part, because if we can keep people, the wolf from the door, and people know that they are, they have some backing. It won't be what they normally would earn, but some backing to be able to survive. Then and then they have time to think about creative ways of coming back.
Yeah,
as well.
Brilliant, Nicky. Thank you so much. This has been such an interesting conversation, and so passionate as well. Like, your passion, comes through so strongly. So thank you very much for your time today. We'd love to hear from other people across the industry. So please get in touch if you'd like to take part in one of these conversations. But Nicky, thank you very much for now. Say goodbye.
Yeah, I'll wish everybody all the best. All right, cheers.